Y'all know what time it is. It's time for that anime dartboard, the segment of the whatever this is, the talk show, I think we've decided, the late night talk show, where we talk about a 350-minute anime that is dubbed in English, and we randomly select it from... My brain can't process that word made. Devilman, where we talk about an anime that's randomly selected from a list of anime that I have compiled, which is about 124 anime or some shit. And this time, the last dart selected is Devilman, The Birth, which is, I want to say, an 80s or 90s Devilman OVA, which is adapting the original Devilman, which I think is more faithful to the comics, but was brought up last time as still being relatively localized at the time it came out, so it's not 100% faithful, but that's okay. Now, obviously, you were supposed to have watched Devilman, The Birth, and also it was created by the legendary Go Nagai, so you should probably know what this was anyway. So... I remember I had things to talk about specifically about this OVA. You have it on Blu-ray. Nice. I remember I had things specifically to talk about this OVA, and I was like, you better bring this up, because I also watched the sequel to this OVA, and then I already reviewed that, and that video is already out. And I mentioned the things that I was planning to mention in this review in that sequel, which will be out Wednesday if you're watching this in VOD form. You gave it a 4. Oh, no, I remember not liking it, and I remember why I didn't like it. I just didn't remember what specific things I wanted to bring up about it. Because I do know what I don't like about it. But I remember there was, like, specific points I wanted to address, and that I'm failing to think about it. One thing I want to bring up is that in the beginning of this, you see a bunch of demons come down, and like some of them are like angelic in form, and then they get eaten by demons, and they get assimilated to demons, because I don't know if it's in this one or it's in the next one. And are they all about the things you think I like about it? No, actually. I very much try to divorce my opinions from other people's opinions, especially during reviews. But I do know, like, at the beginning, the angels sort of, like, come in, and they sort of, like, get absorbed by demons, and the angelic-esque form that you see at the start of the show is very similar to the form Celine takes in the sequel to this OVA. And so I'm going to posit the theory that specifically at one point you see one of those like angelic-esque beings getting killed by a demon, and then that demon gets killed by another demon, and then that demon gets killed by a plant monster. And I think that sequence of events that you see at the end where one of the angel-esque beings becomes a hybrid plant monster is specifically Celine from the second OVA. I think there is a sort of implication about that, because this sort of implies that demons, when they kill each other, I don't know if this is an implication in OVA-2 or this one, that demons absorb the powers of other entities as they kill them. And I do know this is for sure true, at least across the OVA series, but I don't remember if that is a concept introduced in this one. But anyway, what I will talk about is an issue that didn't exist in this one, so I won't talk about that. I was going to talk about how I'm not fond of Akira's personality degrading into being edgier, but that is more of an issue with the sequel to this, because he doesn't spend that much time as being Devilman. Of course, we watched the dub on this, which is quite an interesting dub. There's a sort of contrast from expectations that you receive in the dub on this specifically, where you are not expecting the level of foul language portrayed in this, so it feels a little more jarring than were you going into it with said expectation. Like, I don't think the language in this is specifically egregious. I think the lack of expectation towards the language is what leads to the sort of shock value to it. I do not think this is a bad thing, and that is not one of my problems, but in lieu of a discussion, I think it is worth bringing up the language just because I found it noteworthy. But yeah, I did find the language noteworthy, so I do want to bring it up. I was well aware of this, and it was the deciding factor for me watching this OVA. I will also bring up my brain. I will bring up my brain frying. Oh yeah, there is this and the sequel have a habit of bringing up weirdly topical issues that were especially prevalent during the 80s and 90s. There is a weird environmental tinge to this OVA. In that the fact that the demons are coming forth has to directly relates to global warming. So there's an entire environmental message about this OVA that like has nothing to do with anything, and they don't explore in any meaningful manner, but they just kind of drop it in there. It's like, oh yeah, global warming is causing demons. The manga had similar discussions about the Vietnam War. So it was a pretty faithful adaptation. They just sort of modernized it a little bit more. But yeah, I was just like, yeah, global warming's causing demons. I'm like, oh, okay, do you want to elaborate on that? And the show's like, no. No, we don't feel like elaborating on that. Global warming causes demons. Yeah, I do think later in the second OVA there is an argument to be made about Akira's personality degradation as relates to his contract with Amon, but I really do think that's an OVA 2 issue. Because if I recall, I believe this OVA ends with Akira holding Ryo in his hands right after killing the demons in the Sabbath, right? Like shortly after becoming Devilman. So I don't think that's an OVA 1 issue. A lot of this has to do with establishing Akira as a character. And then I want to say establishing Ryo as a character. And then I think we get to see a bit of, I want to call her Maki. But I'm too drunk, and also I didn't care enough to remember the character's actual name. So a lot of this is like main character establishment, because they very clearly wanted to go the distance, and then I guess just ran out of money when the bubble popped. So they were incapable of actually finishing the series on this series of OVAs, which I actually do think is actually a bit of a disappointment, despite the fact that I didn't really like them. But yeah, Ryo, as at least compared to Crybaby, is like so much more of an asshole in this. And I don't want to compare it too much to Crybaby, because I do want to very much treat this as its own thing. But what I will say is that Ryo is such a colossal dickhead in this specific OVA to the point where he is not likable as a character. In the manga, demons are trapped in ice, and how they get out is never explained. Okay, all right. Yeah, Ryo is like sort of an unlikable character in this. I would say, like, and you don't see enough of, again, I want to say Maki or Miki or something, like the girl, in this to like specifically get a feel for. So a lot of it is related to Kira, who isn't a particularly noteworthy character. He's fine, but I don't, like, he's not, like, super standout. I remember I had more characterization complaints, but it's, honestly, I don't even think this is an alcohol thing. I think it has been too long that I don't remember why I was specifically having characterization issues with these characters. But, like, the central issue that I ended up experiencing was I didn't, Ryo's kind of an asshole in the manga too. Oh, I'm sure. To be fair, even in Crybaby, he's an asshole. He's like never not an asshole, but like he is like a sort of like, in this OVA specifically, a special level of like sociopathic, like serial killer murdery asshole. He's like, I have brought a group of people into this nightclub for the express purpose of murdering all of them. And like in this, I could be misremembering Crybaby, but I think they just go to a nightclub, which you might argue is actually worse behavior in this. But, like, in this, he specifically gathers people for the express purpose of murdering all of them. Like, you don't get worse than, like, what the fuck, my dude? You know what I'm saying? Like, Ryo is, like, the biggest fucking scumbag. And it makes it impossible to like him as a character. Like, he goes so far over the edge on this. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, honestly, exactly. Yeah, he's kind of terrible. He's just like, yo, we gotta form a contract with the demons, and we might die, but we gotta kill all the demons. But yeah, I remember my #1 complaint about all of these is the way these are presented. And I probably believe this was almost certainly an issue with a manga, just because at this point I've seen enough Go Nagai works to know that this is sort of a consistent theme across basically everything he works with, is that this OVA very much feels like the situations involved in this are written in such a way to facilitate, and almost exclusively to facilitate, hyper-violence and nudity. Like, it very much feels like Devilman, especially this OVA, is plot last, nudity and violence first. It's just like, look at these fucking guts and organs we're spilling out there, look at all this blood, and we've got some tits and some sex going on. And, like, it has a sort of almost like a Goro hyper-erotica vibe to it. Where it feels like less like the characters in the story are designed to take center place, and it is just designed to facilitate a sort of like 90s gritty sort of like vibe to it. And I understand that there is a market for that, but I do not think it is in any great surprise that a story that is willfully seeming to put its story on its back burner and is willfully making unlikable characters and not exploring the plot points and themes and motifs it is bringing up so that it can specifically forefront hyper-violence and nudity, of which very clearly I have no problem with, but specifically just so it can forefront those specific themes and are using those and occasionally animation quality as its main selling points is something that I am not fond of. I don't think that would surprise anyone who has watched my reviews for any appreciable amount of time, that backburnering plot in favor of tits and violence is not something I vibe with. In the manga, they go to Ryo's basement, and inside a 70s rock band and a bunch of hippies dancing, doing drugs, and fucking. And Ryo says he's laced everything there with drugs because demons are attracted to sin, and he says that none of the people there will be missed. I mean, Go Nagai wrote fucking Violence Jack. Yeah, no, I mean, I have seen enough Go Nagai stuff, enough Go Nagai anime, that I fully believe in the amount of, like, I have not read the manga, but I am confident in the authenticity of this. Like, this is exactly Go Nagai's vibe. He very much forefronts sexuality and violence in a lot of his stuff, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. Which is a Devilman sequel somehow. And that is, I think, a very, like, I don't think I need to go into more details than that. I think that really does explain the issues I was feeling with this OVA. I have, and it's on my favorites list. I think that really, like, explain, like, I don't think anyone would be shocked necessarily that I did not enjoy this, and especially with, like, the reasoning I've presented, because we all know I am the opposite of this. I don't care. I don't have a problem with tits and violence. You can have as much sex and violence and even sexual violence as you want, as long as you're handling it narratively well, and as long as the story is narrative and plot and character focused. You can go as hard as you fucking want. I have a threshold for violence and sex and sexual violence that is way past the most people. You can go way harder than this OVA actually goes, as long as you have characters and story to back it up. And the problem is it doesn't. So it ends up feeling very shallow and very flat to me. Which feels very much Go Nagai style, because that is how Go Nagai vibes. Like he's very inspirational, but he's very much, I was one of the first people to do it, and so I don't go that hard with it. In the manga, Akira establishes Devilman core after he meets a girl whose boobs shoot acid. Amid saves her from the lab. After time skip, humanity is all dead, and all that's left is Devilman and the demons, and then it ends the way it infamously ended. Yeah, I don't hate the ending to Devilman. I think, like, I don't hate the ending to Devilman. I think the ending to Devilman is fine. I think, excuse me, if you want to go all in on the gritty, like, death, like, despair, depression angle of it, I think that's totally valid. But I do think that the OVA specifically ends up coming off very, very shallow in that regard, and I would have loved to see more time spent on the characters and the story before we get into the whole Devilman aspect. I would have, or at least like further explore the fucking global warming themes, which don't even come back up in the sequel, even if we're being totally honest with ourselves. Demons love blood. There's another key that the Black Mass taught me. Yeah, blood! If in the anime Ryo had... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize he yelled blood. Blood! If in the anime, Ryo had cut one of the hippies and then yelled blood and then yelled blood again, I would have lost my shit. You read that backward. Oh, I'm drunk. My apologies. There's another way the Black Mass taught me. Demons love blood. Ah ha 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 ha. Blood! Blood! Oh, fun fact, one volume of the manga was released in English in the early 80s. Interesting. And then got discontinued because it was the 80s and you can't have anything that openly satanic. Anyway, yeah, I would say that's Devilman the Birth. If you want to see my review of the sequel, it will be coming out in, VOD-wise on Wednesday. And if you're watching this live... fucking, I don't know, God, shit, next month? Somewhere next month, I think. I don't fucking know. It's coming out eventually. Anyway, I didn't like that either, if we're being totally honest. But for slightly different reasons. Actually, for the exact same reasons, but also for additional reasons. And also, Celine is, like, the fucking stupidest character ever. It is impossible to take her seriously. Oh, Devilman. Oh, okay, anyway. Alright, what do we got? What do we got? Alright, here we go. Shuffle. 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 Alright, now to be very clear, I have not necessarily... Like, I think there is some anime on this that I've actually ended up seeing, and I've not cleared yet. So we might have to re-roll for the first time ever. Read or Die? Boogie Pop. Oh! Oh, Boogie Pop. Okay, this is the original 90s Boogie Pop. Oh. Okay, no, actually, yeah, no, okay, no, I'm on board with this. This is going to be good. The original 90s Boogie Pop. This is one of the most influential anime of all time. No, not the 1999 Boogie Pop. Oh, the 2000s Boogie Pop. Yeah, here we go. The original 2000s Boogie. Yeah, Boogie Pop Phantom. A.k.a. Read or Die. No, this is one of the most influential anime of all time, actually. Well, maybe not of all time, but, like, the light novel that this is based on is one of the most influential light novels, like, legitimately. Like, Boogie Pop is legendary. This very much inspired and has sort of semi-similar, although less perverse vibes to... I have Boogie Pop on my plan to watch list. So this is an excellent time to watch it then, isn't it? As Monogatari. I have watched the 2019 Boogie Pop anime, and it is actually really good, believe it or not. So I have very high hopes for this. Boogie Pop, a rumored Shinigami, is said to lurk where they cannot be seen. 5 years ago, a string of gruesome murders shocked the populace, and students attributed some of those killings to the aforementioned death god. When the mysterious happenings once again affect the lives of the attending Hajarandai High School and Shinyo Academy, whispers the enigmatic Boogie Pop are resurrected. The stones being told may contain partial truths, or perhaps the world as humans know it is more dangerous than previously believed. That's a terrible fucking pitch to this. It's basically Monogatari. How long is it? It is 12 episodes, done by Studio Madhouse. It originally aired in winter 2000, has an average score of 7.15. It is, genres are avant-garde, drama, horror, mystery, supernatural. Its theme is psychological. It is rated R+ for mild nudity. And it is directed by Takashi Watanabe, who I have heard of. Who directed Ichiban Ushiro no Daimo. He directed 2021's Genjitsu Suji Yashua no Okoko Saikenki. I'm too drunk to read that. How Realist Hero. Oh, he directed Realist Hero. He directed Freezing, which is actually a really good series. He directed Shakugan no Shana Season 2. Okay, Taboo Tattoo. He directed Realist Hero Season 2, Shana Season 3. He directed Freezing Vibration. He directed the original Ikitosen. He directed Heavy Object. He directed Slayers. He directed this, obviously. He directed the Senran Kagura anime. He directed Groove Adventure Rave. He directed Shakugan no Shana S. He directed Slayers Next. He directed the Shakugan no Shana movie. He directed Kino Tabi. He directed Kino's Journey, which is what that is. He directed Slayers Try, Slayers Revolution, Shakugan no Shana, the time they went to a fucking onsen. They went to Slayers Evolution R. He directed something I have genuinely never heard of, which is Fun Ishin Dai Shogun, or Dai Shogun the Great Revolution, which I've never heard of and no one has ever heard of. No one has ever watched this anime. You can't prove to me anyone has ever heard of seen this anime. He directed Lost Universe, which is an anime no one has ever heard of either. He directed Starship Operators, which again, no one has ever heard of. He directed Western Wolves. It's not his fault Western Wolves is an inherently bad idea. He directed Shin Hokuto no Ken. Wow, this man has been in the business for a while, huh? He directed Kesher and Robot Hunter. He directed Ys, which is an anime adaptation of a famous JRPG series done by... Oh, God, I want to say... fucking... It starts with an F. It's not Famicom. Funko? Falcom. Falcone. Sanctuary. He directed Sanctuary. He directed Ys, another season of Ys. He directed something called Abashiri Ika, which apparently is something I want to watch. Nihon Falcon. Thank you. What the shit is this? Apparently it was good enough for me to add it. Falcom. Thank you. Abashiri family, one of the most powerful families. Frightening Damon Abashiri performs the greatest heist. The family makes a large bank. Damon reveals his youngest child is actually a daughter born to the 18th generation and ended her life of crime. Arranged for relation. How does can you define teacher full hellbent on killing their students? What the fuck is this? Oh, it's a Go Nagai series. Oh, that's why I added it. Okay. He directed something called Otenki Onsen. Onesan. He directed Karasu Tenku Kabuto. He directed Mahotsukai ni Naren Kanata Ona Noko no Hanashi, which comes in 2024. Something about boys being magical girls. Kuromi Mirai is in the first year of high school. She enrolled in high school section of Riden Magical School, the world's only facility for mages approved by International Mage League, and is able to work under the royal family when graduates. She's always the top of her class. However, she applies for a high school section, took the examination to get mage training, Megami Mage class, who wasn't able to, despite having full scores. There are some students in the top of class next to the class, and there's someone she admires. How Kurumi Mirai has extraordinary brain, but didn't get to be a mage candidate, try to overcome and grow up. Aim for Minami Suzuki, a loyal mage who suddenly appears to be homeroom teacher, is the lacking series of her growth. Okay, interesting. Directed Ogenki Clinic, Fortune Quest L by Shoji Yuki Tai Battle Skipper. Mutekyo Trizion, Miracle Giants Domukun, Uchu Kaizoku Mito no Daiboken Futari no Jo-sama, which no one has ever heard of. So he's either directed a bunch of stuff you have heard of or a bunch of stuff you have not heard of. And Dangerous Jisanja and Taisho Itsuwari Bridal Migari Hanayome to Gunpuku no Moai, which looks like porn, frankly. Yeah, that is just porn. That is straight porn. Now he's directing porn. So look forward to that. Anyway, Boogie Pop Phantom, also done by Madhouse in the 2000s. So it's probably pretty well animated. Look forward to Boogie Pop Phantom. Check that out. I'll make a post in the Discord